Hey Golf Club, and welcome to this build showcase, last Epoch 0.9. This character is based on a Void Knight build that we did about 2, maybe 3 years ago, I'm not sure now, but it's an old build. And the reason I went back to this build is because I didn't like the Smite build that relies on getting the relics, and it's a lot of farming I didn't want to do, and also because the Primalist shapeshifting bug is still around and they haven't fixed that yet. Well, enough about that. Let's go through the character. We'll do the passives, we'll go through the skills, we'll go through my current gear, and then we'll go into the Monolith. I've only just finished the campaign. I've gone right through the campaign and unlocked all the +1 to all attributes. So I'm currently level 57. So let's go through the passives. Of course, we first start off with Sentinel. We put 5 points into Juggernaut. We put 5 points into Armorclad. We go back to finish off Juggernaut. And then we put 7 points into Fearless. From there we open up Void Knight and put 15 points into Void Knight to open up the skills that we want to specialise in, that being Abyssal Echoes and Devouring Orb. The current build does not use Volatile Reversal or Anomaly, not yet. I may play test that a little bit later on when we get some more levels. The first thing we do into Void Knight is take Abyssal Endurance, 4 points in there, and then we put 2 points into Temporal Corruption. We then put 6 points into World Eater and 3 points into Void Blades. After that we just briefly pop over to Forge Guard and put 10 points into Weapons Master. We then pop over to Sentinel again. We take 1 point in Gladiator, making sure we've got a sword in our offhand and an axe in our main hand for reasons I'll outlay in a moment. Once we've got Gladiator, we take 4 points into Overwhelm, which unlocks Blade Master. Another reason why we want an axe. We get the attack speed from having a sword, and we get the attack speed from having an axe. That's Sentinel done. We return home back to a Void Knight, and then we put 1 more point into Abyssal Endurance. That opens up Doom Knight. We put 5 points into Doom Knight, back to Abyssal Endurance for another 4 points there. 5 points into Rot Grip, and then we're heading up to Rot Ripples to scale our Time Rot. And that's where I've got so far with the passive skills. As for the actual skills themselves, we've got 5 specializations. We start off with Rive. Now because this build is mana intensive, we're using Rive primarily to regain our mana back, with some damage as well. So the first thing we do is take 3 points into Champion. We take 1 point into Weapon Specialist, so we can do additional Void melee damage when using an axe for per point of Vitality, and we stack Vitality on our gear along with Dexterity because we're also using a sword. So we're stacking almost 3 different stats here. We're stacking Dexterity if you can be bothered to get it on gear. We're stacking Strength because that increases our armor, and we're stacking Vitality, A for our health and B for more melee void damage. How you spec these is entirely your choice. Void damage is probably preferable over the melee physical damage because it's Vitality, and obviously Strength we need because we want the armor. From there we put a point into Temporal Warrior and 5 points into Ripples of Oblivion. With that all done, we then skip down to 2 points into Flurry, we put 2 points into Rending, we put 1 point into Cadence, and then we put 3 points into Azure Crescendo, which is where I'm at right now. After that we finish it off with 2 points into Outburst, giving our third strike dealing you damage in a large area, allowing us to get even more mana from Azure Crescendo. From there, the next skill we specialise in is Lunge. Lunge is still bugged. It still effectively stuns us for about 2 seconds where you can't do anything. I've had this happen to me multiple times. I've made sure a boss is targeted, lunged and got stunned, well, effectively stunned in halfway across. I've targeted mobs, like a massive group of mobs, and I've got stunned. It's just bugged. You have to wait for 2 seconds. You can't use your potions. You can't use any skills. I'm spamming Rive as quickly as I can. I break out of it and then hit my other skills, and I usually manage to survive with a couple of potions. Another bug in the game. Hopefully they'll get that ironed out as quickly as possible. How do we spec our lunge? We take 2 points into Dawn Charge and 1 point into Bladestorm. From there, we go over to 1 point into Warrior's Renewal, then 2 points into Endless Will, back and finish off Warrior's Renewal. From there, we come down and take 2 points into Initiate's Onslaught. We then take 1 point in Cull the Weak, 2 points into Reckless Skirmish, and then 1 point into Voidbringer, which then makes our lunge scale with void damage and removes the physical tag and takes a void tag. Also, all bleed inflicts time rot, so when we're using our axes we're looking for bleed chance, simply because once we have this one it'll then inflict time rot until we can get our end game axe later on. From there we end up taking 3 points into Visceral Path and then 3 points into Broadside, which is here. So that's all it is mana, is travel and damage on lunge. After that we then start speccing into the actual abilities. We then go into Devouring Orb, the first one, purely because we spec Devouring Orb much the same way as Rive, in that we're needing our mana. So for Devouring Orb we take 1 point into Dark Moon, so it orbits us. 1 point into Abyssal Rush, that's where we get our attack speed and movement speed. It's only a little bit, but every little bit counts, as they say. 1 point into Cosmic Impact, and unfortunately this is just a travel node for us. It's kind of annoying that it does deal damage when it collides, but what we really want is Sightless Star for the mana efficiency, and the only way to get that is to come through Cosmic Impact, so we are kind of stuck. But that's how we do that, and that gives us our mana efficiency, so we can recast Devouring Orb as soon as it drops off. After we get that, we are then looking at 1 point into Void Adept, 1 point into Hollow Orb, 1 point into Abyssal Emission, 3 points into Chaotic Torrent. We then come down to 2 points into Rift Caller and 4 points into Weld Rot. Once again, stacking that time rot. So that's our Devouring Orb. The next one, or the second to last one, is Erasing Strike, which is our main skill. So Erasing Strike, we pop 2 points into Merciful. From Merciful we go 2 points into Erasure of the Living. From there we put 1 point into Time Loop, and at that point we go 1 point into Shattered Continuity, and therefore we no longer have a cooldown. From that, this is the reason why we use an Erasing Strike until the second to last, because by this point you have just enough points to pick up Shattered Continuity immediately. 2, 4, 5 and 6, or you're at least on 5, and then you've only got a little bit of leveling to do to get the 6th. It doesn't take very long, so our point is to get Shattered Continuity as quickly as possible. From there we take 2 points into Chamber of Fate. We then come over here for 1 point in, there it is, Obliteration. From Obliteration we get 3 points into Absorb the Remains and 3 points into Moments Stolen. We then go 1 point into Void Pyre, 2 points into Regicide, and then 2 points into Void Lens to stack the Void Beams. Our final specialization at level 50, we then start specking into Abyssal Echoes. Now this is only used on those tough rare mobs, the big quest mobs and bosses, where you use one Abyssal Echoes and then you Erasing Strike. So the purpose of Abyssal Echoes is a boss killer skill, and it does work quite nicely, but you do end up using all your mana, hence why we've got to keep up Devouring Orb and Rive to our heart's content to get that mana back. With that in mind, on Abyssal Speccos we go Vorpal Reverberation, 1 point into Turbulence. From Turbulence we go down to Myopia, Fragility and Impair the Weak. After that we put 2 points into Crippling Waves. From Crippling Roads we put 4 points into Void Supremacy. From there we then go 2 points into Embrace the Darkness, and then from there we are 3 points into Abyssal Tendrils. After that it is 2 points into Deep Expanse as a travel node, and then 1 point in Vorpal Explosions. This is simply to stack the Abyssal Echoes, and it no longer chains, which is fine. We don't need it to chain because, as I said, this is primarily used on bosses or big rare monsters in the Monolith. So that's all the skills, that's all the passive, that's how I've chosen to done it, and it's worked really, really well. The only boss I had a problem with was Lagoon, and that is simply because I decided to try and tank his water beam, and after the first attempt where I died, I just sidestepped out the way and it wasn't a problem anymore. I've not had a problem with anything else other than managing the mana. That is an issue. I recognise it's an issue. There's not much we can do about it because a Raising Strike is 27 mana, and then it echoes once or twice, and then you've got no mana, especially if you're on the boss where you're first casting Abyssal Echoes. You cast that, you then spam your Raising Strike, and all of a sudden you're minus 200 mana. So let's get into a Monolith. We are going to go up here and do this one. I've done the first one down here straight away. We're into this one. Wait for the load time. Bing! So immediately we pop up our Devouring Orb for our extra movement speed, and then we're off. We're waiting to find a mob. We can charge. We hit our Raising Strike, it echoes, it dies, and then we're rhyming through this pack here. We'll pick up some stuff. I'm not going to do any leveling in the Monolith. I never do. Get that Devouring Orb. See, we're out of mana again, so just wait for it to come back up. Get that Devouring Orb up. Rive through the pack here. As soon as we're on about 50 mana, we can Raising Strike and get on with it. Now this crab, we will do Abyssal Echoes, wait for our mana, and there is the Raising Strike, and it instantly dies. Normally the Echo will kill the revive portion of the mob. On this time the timing was slightly out. We're almost at max mana, so we can start doing that. There we go. Through the pack again. I'm not really too worried about these mobs. Usually a Raising Strike will do the job. Just make sure we keep our Devouring Orb up for that mana regeneration. Lunge through the pack. I'm not going to stay there. Hopefully it will drag with us. This is why we do it. We get over here, make for the mobs, hit Abyssal Echoes, and then just spam a Raising Strike. I missed the Bone Spire though. I was slightly out of position. Get the Devouring Orb up for that mana regen. There we go. That's down. So now get the Devouring Orb up for our movement speed. I haven't gone through the gear. I've just remembered the gear. I will do that after the Monolith, and you can see what my gear is like. It's not that great, but it's not too bad. That's the Void Beams, which is why we stack some Void Beam stuff. If you can get a decent pack of mobs like these worms, and you manage to kill them all without using your lunge, then they do quite a lot of damage. Right, so we get our Devouring Orb up. There's the Abyssal Echoes, and then we just spam. There's all the Void Beams coming down, so again it's killing mobs that have got near us. We can do the same thing that we did on the last one. Gather up all the mobs, stack them near the spire. There goes that. Still missed the Bone Spire for some reason. Get the Devouring Orb up for our mana regen. Again, use the Abyssal Echo, and boom. There we go. I'm not worried about stacking stability on this particular one, so we'll just leave. We'll get whatever treasure it says. Open this so I don't forget. I'm not going to look at the gear. I'll leave that till a bit later. Let me just do my skills. Lunge. Right, Visceral Path, a point in that. There we go, that's our 3 points. Raising Strike, Regicide, there it is. And finally, Abyssal Echoes, which is Deep Expanse, 1 point. There we go. Okay, so let's quickly go over the gear. Again, it's not really that great. I've managed to get all my resists done apart from poison and necrotic, which I will work on as my gear upgrades throughout the rifts. So start with the helm and we'll go from there. So we've got this winged helm. I don't know what has been crafted and I don't know what I found and then crafted. I apologise, I wasn't really taking notes as I was whipping through the campaign. I don't think any of my gear's got any forging potential left, but we'll find out as we go through this. So this had a stacked attunement on it, I believe, and I just put some res on it, I'm not sure. But anyway, that's where it is. So we've got a bit of vitality on there, and that'll stack with our axe, our void damage, because we've got an axe. This is my current amulet with some melee attack speed, mana regen, void, health regen, and resistance. This is the body armor I've got at the moment. Nothing great, no resists on there. If that was fully opened up, I could probably pop some poison and necrotic resistance on there to help that out. This is the sword. We've got some melee void damage and increased void damage, chance to slow, which is quite handy, and some health on melee hit. Normally this would have, let me just check my gearing I did. There we go. What I would hope to get on this sword is the prefixes are correct in that the melee void damage and increased void damage, but actually what we want instead of health on melee hit is frailty on hit, because that reduces, I can't remember, I did look it up and I can't remember, but it does reduce something on them, allowing us to do even more damage. While we're looking at weapons, let's have a look at our axe. We're currently on a battle axe, so we've got 23% chance to bleed. That bleed turns into time rot, as per previously mentioned in our skills. Again, we've got increased void damage, and I believe I found this one like it was. Slapped some slow on there, and yeah, got some frailty and crit chance. I'm not scaling crit, this axe just happened to have some crit on it. As for our belt, this is the belt we've got. Some fizz damage, void damage, cold resist and elemental resist. We've got a gold ring here with 16% elemental resist as a prefix with elemental resist crafted on there as well. And the other side we've got a 17% prefix elemental resists, more crit chance, completely pointless elemental damage, but it does have 23 poison resist and then crafted necrotic resistance, just to try and bring that up a bit. As for our boots, I found these on the floor. I can't remember what I added. I think I added the vitality and the fizz res to it from memory. It's got a little bit of movement speed on there as well, plus the cold resist for being the hero Borean base type. Gloves, we're currently running around with a horrible set of gloves that haven't been upgraded in what seemingly is like 30 levels. I'd said, like I said, the gearing is not that great, but it does have a base 20% necrotic resistance, and then obviously I've forged it with stuff. Our relic houses a mana and -3 melee attack mana cost. I don't think that melee attack mana cost stacks with the cost of our stuff. Let's find out, shall we? So raging strike is 27. We take it out. Oh, it does. So that might be a good base type to go for then. I've not looked at end game gearing really for relics, just suffixes and stuff. But this does house a 20% poison resist, which is why we've got it. That's all the gear. Let's look at the idols that I've picked up and found. We've got this one, which is doing more melee damage when a skill echoes, and lunge gives us some health. We got this one, which is some time rot duration and life. I got gain inspiration on kills with void skills, and again more missing health restored on lunge. Got a tiny one here for increased void damage. Again, we're not stacking stun chance, it just happens to be on the idol. 12% chance to gain some ward when hit and some life. Got some, again, ward on potion use plus lightning resist. 11% increased void damage, and then the poison just happens to be there. It's completely irrelevant. Health on kill with void damage, and finally stun chance and void damage. So that's the character, that's the gear, that's the passive, that's the skills. and that is the current build. I hope you enjoyed this video. Later on today I will be doing some D4. I won't be streaming live the D4 progress. I will be doing some update videos across the weekend. I'm off to play some Path of Exile because I've been playing Last Epoch now for about 4 hours. I'm going to let's have a look at the gear I found, see if it's any good. No, that's going to be sold to vendor. That is going to be shattered. This one is going to be sold. This one is going to be sold. And finally the gold ring down here is also going to be sold. Let's look at the exalted item. That's going to be shattered for hopefully get the increased health. What's it? Do we have any shatterers? 2. Right, let's get those shattered then. On this one we're after pretty much everything apart from the armor. Oh, didn't get one of them. And on this one obviously we're after the T6 health. We've got the whole 6 shards. Nice. Excellent. We're out of Runes of Shattering again, but you know, because I can't play my druid at the moment, I've not been able to farm much gold. There we go. Hope you enjoyed, as I said earlier, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be doing some updates on this character if I don't get bored farming in the Monolith. And I'm not sure why. I can run in Path of Exile, I can run maps all day. In Diablo 3 I can do Greater Rifts for 2 or 3 hours. I then come on to Last Epoch, I do the Monoliths, and after about 20 minutes I'm bored. I don't know why. I don't know what the difference is, but there's something there I don't know. Anyway, that's it from me on this video. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Enjoy the weekend, and if you are in the D4 beta, have some good fun. Let me know how it goes.